December 18th, 1902, Volume 4. Jesus again takes her to suffer with him in order to conquer those who want divorce. As soon as I found myself in my usual state, blessed Jesus came, but in so much suffering as to arouse compassion. Then, all afflicted, he told me, "My daughter, come again to suffer with me in order to conquer the obstinacy of those who want divorce. Let us try once more. You will always be ready to suffer what I want, won't you? Do you give me your consent?" And I, "Yes, Lord, do whatever you want." As soon as I said yes, blessed Jesus laid himself within me as crucified, and since my nature was smaller than his, he stretched me so much as to make me reach his very person. Then he poured, very little, yes, but so bitter and full of sufferings, that not only did I feel the nails at the places of the crucifixion, but I felt my whole body as pierced by many nails, in such a way that I felt all of myself being crushed. He left me in that position for a little while, and I found myself in the midst of demons, who, on seeing me suffer like that, said, "In the end, this damn one is going to win again, so that we don't make the law of divorce. Curse your existence. You tried to harm us and to disperse our businesses by ruining our many toils, rendering them vain. But we'll make you pay for this. We will move bishops, priests, and people against you, so that next time we'll make you drop this whim of accepting sufferings." And while saying this, they sent me whirls of flames and smoke. I felt myself in so much suffering that I could not understand myself. Blessed Jesus came back. At the sight of him, the demons fled, and again he renewed in me the same sufferings, but more intense than before. He repeated this 2 more times, but even though I was almost constantly with Jesus, I would not say anything to him, because I was as though compressed by strong sufferings. Only he would say to me from time to time, "My daughter, it is necessary that you suffer for now. Have patience. Do you not want to take care of my interests as if they were your own?" And he would sustain me in his arms, for my nature could not bear alone the weight of those sufferings. Then he said to me, "Beloved, do you want to see the evil that occurred during those days in which I kept you suspended from this state?" At that moment, I don't know how, I saw justice. I could see it as full of light, of grace, of chastisements, and of darkness. And as many days as I had been suspended, so many were the streams of darkness that descended upon earth. Those who want to do evil and speak evil had become even more blind, and had acquired strength to carry it out, turning against the church and against sacred people. I was surprised, and Jesus told me, "You thought it was nothing, so much so that you would not bother about it, but it was not so. Have you seen how much evil came about, and how much strength the enemies acquired, to the point of managing to do what they had not been able to do during the time in which I had continuously kept you in this state?" After this, he disappeared. December 18th, 1920, Volume 12. Return of love and thanksgiving for all that God operated in the celestial Mamma. I was all afflicted without my Jesus, when, as I was praying, I felt him near me, saying, "Ah, my daughter, things are getting worse. It will come like whirlwind to shake everything. It will rain, as long as a whirlwind does, and it will end just as a whirlwind ends. The Italian government lacks the ground under its feet, and it does not know what to aim at. Justice of God. After this, I felt I was outside of myself, and I found myself together with my sweet Jesus, but clinging so tightly to him, and he to me, that I almost could not see his divine person. I don't know how, I said, "My Jesus, while I am clinging to you, I want to prove to you my love, my gratitude, and everything which the creature has the duty to do, because you have created our immaculate Queen Mamma, the most beautiful one, the holiest, a portent of grace, enriching her with all gifts, and making her also our mother. And I do this in the name of creatures, past, present, and future. I want to seize each act of creature, each word, thought, heartbeat, and step, and tell you in each one of them that I love you, I thank you, I bless you, I adore you, for all that you have done in your celestial Mamma and mine." Jesus enjoyed my act, but so much that he said to me, "My daughter, I was anxiously awaiting this act of yours in the name of all generations. My justice and my love felt the need of this return, because great are the graces which descend upon all, for having enriched my Mamma so much. Yet they never have a word, a thank you to say to me." Another day I was saying to my lovable Jesus, "Everything is over for me. Suffering, visits of Jesus, everything." And he immediately, "Have you perhaps stopped loving me or doing my will?" And I, "No, may this never be." And he, "If this is not, nothing is over." December 18th, 1921, Volume 13. Peace is the springtime of the soul. I was feeling very oppressed and distressed because of the privation of my sweet Jesus. After one entire day of pain, late at night he came, and clinging to my neck with his arms, he told me, "My daughter, what is it? I see a mood and a shadow in you which render you dissimilar from me, and break the current of beatitude which has almost always existed between me and you. Everything is peace in me. Therefore I do not tolerate in you even one shadow which may shade your soul. Peace is the springtime of the soul. All virtues bloom, grow, and smile, like plants and flowers at the rays of the sun in springtime, which dispose all things of nature to produce, each one, its own fruit. If it wasn't for the spring, which shakes the plants from the torpor of cold with its enchanting smile, and clothes the earth with a flowery mantle that calls everyone to admire it with its sweet enchantment, the earth would be horrid, and the plants would end up withering. So peace is the divine smile which shakes the soul from any torpor. Like celestial springtime, it shakes the soul from the cold of passions, of weaknesses, of thoughtlessnesses, and so forth, and with its smile it makes all flowers bloom, more than in a flowery field, and it makes all plants grow, through which the celestial farmer is pleased to stroll and pick the fruits, to make of them his food. Therefore the peaceful soul is my garden, in which I enjoy and amuse myself. Peace is light, and everything that the soul thinks of, says, and does is light that she emanates, and the enemy cannot get close to her, because he feels struck, wounded, and dazzled by this light, and is forced to flee so as not to be blinded. Peace is dominion, not only of oneself, but also of others, So before a peaceful soul, all remain either conquered or confused and humiliated. Therefore they either let themselves be dominated, remaining as friends, or they leave confused, unable to sustain the dignity, the imperturbability, the sweetness of a soul who possesses peace. Even the most perverted ones feel the power that she contains. This is why I glory so much in making myself called God of Peace, Prince of Peace. There is no peace without me. I alone possess it, and I give it to my children, as legitimate children who remain bound as heirs of all my goods. The world, creatures, do not have this peace, and what is not possessed cannot be given. At the most, they can give an apparent peace, which torments them inside, a false peace which contains a poisonous sip within it, and this poison puts to sleep the remorses of conscience, and leads one to the kingdom of vice. Therefore true peace is I, and I want to conceal you in my peace, so that you may never be disturbed, and the shadow of my peace, like dazzling light, may keep far away from you anything or anyone who might shade your peace. December 18th, 1927, Volume 23. How the Virgin possessed the kingdom of the divine Fiat. How the lights dived, and she was able to conceive. How Jesus, from within the veil of his humanity, like rising sun, kept tracing all creatures. How each divine manifestation is a commitment that God makes to creatures. I was thinking about the great love of when my highest good Jesus incarnated himself in the womb of the height of the sovereign lady, and of how a creature, though holy and with no stain at all, could contain a God. And my always lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, my celestial mamma possessed my will. She was so filled with it as to overflow with light, but so much that her waves of light rose up into the bosom of our divinity, and making herself the conqueror by the power of our divine volition that she possessed, she conquered the celestial Father, and captured the light of the Word into her light, and made him descend even into her womb, within the same light that she had formed by virtue of my divine will. I could never have descended from heaven had I not found our own light within her, our own will reigning in her. Had it not been so, it would have been like descending, from the very first moment, into a foreign house. But I was to descend into my house. I was to find the place into which to lower my light, my heaven, my countless joys. And the celestial sovereign lady, by possessing my divine will, prepared for me this dwelling, this heaven, in nothing dissimilar from the celestial fatherland. Is perhaps not my will what forms the paradise of all the blessed? So as the light of my Fiat drew me into her womb, and the light of the Word descended, the lights dived together, and the pure Virgin, Queen and Mother, with few drops of blood that she made flow from her burning heart, formed the veil of my humanity around the light of the Word, and enclosed it within it. But my light was immense, and while my divine mamma enclosed its sphere within the veil of my humanity that she formed for me, she could not contain the rays. They overflowed outside, and, more than sun that at its rising from the height of its sphere spreads its rays over the earth, to trace the plants, the flowers, the sea, and all creatures, to give the effects that its light contains to all. And as though triumphant from the height of its sphere, it looks at the good it does and at the life it infuses in each thing it invests. So I did. More than rising sun, from within the veil of my humanity, the rays that overflowed outside kept tracing all creatures, to give my life and the good I had come to bring upon earth, to each one of them. These rays from within my sphere pounded on each creature. They beat down strongly to tell them, "Open for me. Take the life I have come to bring you." This sun of mine never sets, and still continues to follow its course, spreading its rays, pounding and pounding on the hearts, on the wills, on the minds of creatures over and over again, in order to give my life. But how many close the doors to me and reach the point of making fun of my light? But my love is so great that in spite of this I do not draw back. I continue my continuous rising to give life to creatures. After this I was continuing my round in the divine volition, and my beloved Jesus added, "My daughter, each prophecy I gave to my prophets about my coming upon earth was like a commitment I made to creatures of my coming into their midst. And the prophets, by manifesting them, disposed the peoples to desire and to want a good so great. And these, in receiving these prophecies, received the deposit of the commitment. And as I kept manifesting the time and the place of my birth, I kept increasing the pledge of the commitment. So I am doing with the kingdom of my will. Each manifestation I make concerning my divine fiat is a commitment that I make. Each knowledge about it is one more pledge that I add. And if I make my commitments, it is a sign that, just as the kingdom of redemption came, so will the kingdom of my will come. My words are lives that I issue from myself, and life must have its dwelling and produce its effects. Do you think that one more manifestation, or one less, is something trivial? It is one more commitment that a God makes, and our commitments cannot go lost. And the more commitments we make, the closer the time is to carry out our commitments and to place them all in safety. This is why I require of you highest attention, and that you let nothing escape you. Otherwise you would let a divine commitment escape you, and this would carry some consequences. December 18th, 1929, Volume 27, Ardor of Love. Specialties of the three ardors of love of our Lord. The devouring love, and how it devoured all souls. Tears of baby Jesus. I was thinking about the incarnation of my sweet Jesus in the maternal womb of the celestial sovereign. And my sweet Jesus, coming out of my interior, clasped me in his arms with an unspeakable tenderness and told me, "My daughter, creation was ardor of love, and was so intense and great that overflowing from our divine being, it invested the whole universe and diffused everywhere. And our fiat, pronouncing itself and operating in this, our race of love, that ran and ran without being able to stop, if not, when it spread everywhere and gave its first kiss of love to all creatures who did not yet exist. Its kiss of love was kiss of joy, of happiness, that it impressed on all generations. And our divine fiat that ran together with it did not content itself with only kisses, but, pronouncing itself, formed suns, heavens, stars, seas, and earth, and everything that can be seen in the great void of the universe. So the ardor of our love in creation was ardor of celebrating love, of happiness, of joy, with which we were to play with and delight all creatures. On the other hand, in incarnating myself in the maternal womb, our ardor of love that, as we could not contain it, overflowed from us and did the same race as in creation, was ardor of love, of tenderness, of compassion, of mercy, and it put at risk the life of a God in order to find man and give him its kisses of love, tender and compassionate, its kisses of forgiveness, and enclosing the life of all creatures within its sea of love, it gave them the kiss of life, laying down its life of love to give life to man. Our love reached the excess in the incarnation, because it was not, as in creation, love that celebrates, that rejoices, but sorrowful love, suffering love, sacrificed love, that would give its life to make a prey of the life of man. But our love is not yet content. Place your hand upon my heart and feel how strongly it beats, to the point that I feel it explode. Prick up your ears and hear how it seethes, almost like a stormy sea that, forming its gigantic waves, wants to overflow outside, to invade everything and everyone. It wants to do its third race of ardor of love, and in this ardor of love, it wants to form the kingdom of my divine will. This ardor of love of ours will unite together that of creation and that of my incarnation, and will make them one. And it will be ardor of triumphing love, and will give its kiss of triumphant love, of conquering love, of love that wins over everything, to give its kiss of perennial peace, its kiss of light, that will put to flight the night of the human will, and will make the full day of my divine will arise, that will be the bearer of all goods. How I long for it! Our love seethes so much within me that I feel the necessity to let it overflow outside. And if you knew what relief I feel when pouring it out with you, I speak to you of my divine volition. The ardor of my love that gives me the delirious fever calms down, and feeling refreshment, I put myself at work so that all may be my will in your soul. Therefore be attentive and let me do. After this, my poor mind was wandering within the love of my sweet Jesus, and I saw before me a great wheel of light, burning more than fire, that contained as many rays for as many creatures as had come and will come out to the light of the day. And these rays invested each creature, and with sweet enrapturing strength captured them into the center of the great wheel of light, where there was Jesus waiting for them from the womb of his love in order to devour them, not to make them die, but to enclose them within his little humanity, so as to make them be reborn, grow, and to nourish them with his devouring flames, to give them new life, the life all of love. My little Jesus, just newly conceived, enclosed within himself the great birth of all generations, more than a tender mother who encloses the birth from herself, to deliver it to the light, formed by his love, but with unheard of pains, and even with his death. Then my tender Jesus, in the middle of that chasm of flames, so very little, told me, "Look at me, and listen to me. My daughter, in the middle of this chasm of flames, I breathe nothing but flames, and in my breath I feel that the flames of my devouring love bring me the breath of all creatures. My tiny little heart palpitates flames that, extending, capture the heartbeats of all creatures and place them inside my heart. And I feel all heartbeats palpitating in my little heart. Everything is flames. Flames spout my tiny little hands, my immobile little feet. Ah, how demanding is my love! In order to enclose me completely and make me give life to all, it put me in the middle of a devouring fire. And oh, how vividly I feel the sins, the miseries, the pains of all. I am still little, yet I am spared nothing. I can say, all evils have fallen inside and outside of me. And in the midst of these devouring flames, loaded with so many pains, I look at everyone, and crying, I exclaim, my love has given me everyone back as gift. It gave them to me in creation, and they escaped from me. It gives them to me again in conceiving me in the womb of my mamma. But am I sure that they will not escape from me? Will they be mine forever? Oh, how happy I would be if all would not escape from me. Their pains would be refreshment for me if all of my dear children, the dear birth from me, conceived in my little humanity, were safe. And crying and sobbing, I looked each one in the face to move them with my tears, and I repeated, my dear children, do not leave me. Do not go away from me any more. I am your father. Do not abandon me. Oh, please, recognize me. Have pity at least on the fire that devours me, on my ardent tears, and all because of you, because I love you too much. I love you as God. I love you as most passionate Father. I love you as my life. But do you know, little daughter of my divine volition, what was the greatest interest of my love? That of devouring, in creatures, their human will, because it is the origin of all evils, and in spite of all its devouring flames, it formed clouds so as not to let itself be burned. Oh, what tortured me the most was the human will, that not only formed clouds, but formed the most sorrowful scenes in my very humanity. Therefore pray that my divine will be known and reign in it, and then you will be able to call me the happy Jesus. Otherwise my tears will not cease. I will always have reason to cry over the lot of poor humanity, as it lies under the nightmare of its miserable will. December 18th, 1933, Volume 33. How the creature has been formed by God ab eterno, and loved with eternal love. The human will is the disorder of the works of her Creator. My poor mind continues to cross the infinite sea of the Fiat, and for however much one walks, one never finishes. In this sea the soul feels her God, who fills her even to the brim, completely, with his divine being, in a way that she can say, God has given me all of himself, and if he has not given me his immensity to enclose in myself, it is because I am little. Now, in this sea, one finds in act the order, the harmony, the ancient mysteries of how God has created man. And oh, the prodigies are unheard of. The love is exuberant. The majesty is insuperable. There is so much of the mysterious that Neither man himself nor the sciences can retell about the formation of man with clarity. So I remained surprised by the magnificence and prerogatives the human nature possesses, and my beloved Jesus, in seeing me so surprised, told me, "My blessed daughter, your marvel will cease if, looking well into this sea of my volition, you see where, who, how, and when every creature was formed. Therefore, where? In the eternal womb of God. Who? God himself gave them origin. How? The Supreme Being himself formed the series of his thoughts, the numbers of his words, the order of his works, the motion of his steps, and the continuous heartbeat of his heart. In fact, God gave them such beauty, order, and harmony as to be able to find himself in the creature with such fullness that he would not be able to find the place to put anything of his that was not placed in him by God. We, in looking at him, remain enraptured in seeing that in the little human circle our power had enclosed our divine work. And in our emphasis of love we told him, "How very beautiful you are. You are our work. You will be our glory, the outlet of our love, the reflection of our wisdom, the echo of our power, the bearer of our eternal love." And we loved him with eternal love, without beginning and without end. And when was this creature formed in us? Ab eterno, meaning from eternity. Therefore he did not exist in time, but in eternity he always existed. He had his place in us, his palpitating life, the love of his Creator. In fact, the creature has always been for us our ideal, the little space for where to develop our creative work, the support of our life, the vent of our eternal love. This is why humans do not understand so many things. They don't know how to explain them because it is the operation of the divine incomprehensibility. They are our ancient celestial mysteries, our divine fibers, in which only we know the mysterious secrets, the keys that we must touch when we want to do new and unusual things in the creature. And since they do not know our secrets, nor can they understand our incomprehensible ways that we have placed in the human nature, they arrive at judging by their ways, and they do not know how to explain what we operate in the creature, while he is obliged to bow his forehead before what he does not understand. Now, one who does not do our will places in disorder all our acts, ordered ab eterno in the creature. Therefore he disfigures and forms the void of our divine acts, formed and ordered by us in the human creature. We loved ourselves in him, the series of our acts formed by our pure love. And placing him forth in time, we wanted him as concurring with what we had done. But in order to have this ability, the creature needed our will that, giving him its divine virtue, made him do in time what had been done by us without him in eternity. Nor is there anything to marvel if the divine being had formed him in eternity, the same divine volition confirmed and repeated in time, that is to say, continued its creative work in the creature. But without my divine will, how can he ever elevate himself, conform himself, unite himself, resemble those same acts that we, with so much love, have formed and ordained in him? Therefore the human will does nothing other than disorder our most beautiful works, breaking our love, emptying our works that remain in us, because we lose nothing of what we have done. All the evil remains for the poor creature, because he feels the abyss of the divine void. His works are without strength and without light. His steps are wavering, his mind confused. In fact, without my will he remains like a food without substance, like a paralyzed body, like a ground without cultivation, like a tree without fruit, like a flower that sends forth a bad odor. Oh, if our divinity were subject to tears, we would mourn bitterly those who do not let themselves be dominated by our will. December 18th, 1937, Volume 35. All that is done in the divine will acquires life, and these lives swim and float in the seas of love of the divine volition. I am prey to the divine volition. It does nothing other than unleash seas of light and love from itself. But it seems unsatisfied until it sees its life of light and the little love of the creature being poured out of herself, meeting, kissing, and loving each other with one love. Oh, how it celebrates, and in its emphasis of love says, "The life of my will is inside and outside of the creature. I possess her. She is all mine." And I was thinking, doesn't the little love of the creature disappear within the immense sea of divine love? My adorable Jesus, returning to visit my little soul, as if inundated with his flames of love, told me, "Daughter of my will, each thing that the creature does, keeping my will as principle and life, no matter how small it might be, contains one divine life. Therefore, in the endless sea of my will and of my love, one can see many little lives of love and light swimming and floating, having taken their place inside our sea. Oh, how repaid we feel, because what she gave us in her little love is life of love, and what she gave us in doing her acts is life of light. They have been formed in the center of the life of our Fiat, which possesses the true life, and therefore lives are the things that come from it. My Fiat creates them first, forming them within itself. Then it puts them out, delivering them from its divine womb. Therefore each I love you possesses the life of love. Each adoration possesses the life of divine adoration. Each exercised virtue possesses, one, the life of divine goodness, one, the wisdom, one, the fortitude, one, the power, one, the sanctity. Since they are little lives that have received life from our life, they do not know how to be alone. So they run and come to continue their little lives inside our endless seas. Oh, how they love us! They may be small, but we know that the creature can only give us little things, because the big ones, immensities, are ours. The creature doesn't even know where to put them, if we were to give them. So it is necessary for them to take refuge in us. And we, seeing her in our seas, feel repaid with that love that we want from the creature. I remained thinking about what Jesus was saying, and he added, "Do you want to see it, to convince yourself of what I'm telling you?" In that moment, Jesus made me see his endless seas investing heaven and earth, and the little love of the creature, and all the rest done in his divine will, as many little but beautiful lives swimming inside these seas. Some remained on the surface to fix their gaze on their Creator. Some would run into his arms, one hugging him, another kissing him. Another one was diving into the sea. In some, they were doing 1,000 caresses and loving stratagems for the one from whom they had received life. The Supreme Being was looking at them, but with such love as to call the whole celestial court to celebrate together with him, saying to all, "Look at them! How beautiful they are! These lives formed by the acts of the creature, and by my will, are my glory, my triumph, my smile, the echo of my love, of our harmony and happiness." I could see all these lives in the sun, in the stars, in the air, in the wind, and in the sea. Each "I love you" was a life of love that was running to take its place of honor inside the divine seas. What enchantment! What beauties! How many unspeakable surprises! I remained mute, and I didn't know what to say. And Jesus, "My daughter, did you see how many rare beauties of life my will can do? Its love and its jealousy are such that it keeps them inside its own sea. But that is not all, my daughter. I want to tell you another surprise. For the creature who lives in my will, one 'I love you' does not wait for another. With the life of love contained in those prodigious 'I love yous,' one runs ahead, one behind, one flies to take its place inside our endless sea. They compete among themselves. One runs faster, another wants to put itself ahead, another wants to be the first one to throw itself in our arms, another one makes a jump far ahead to lock itself inside our divine womb. Life cannot be still. These small lives, no matter how small, have a breath, a heartbeat, a step, and a voice. They are all eyes to watch us. They breathe love and give us love. They palpitate with love and have our same step, since we move and walk because we love. Their voices speak always of love, and they love so much that they always want to hear about our story of eternal love. These little lives never die. They are eternal with us. The "I love you," the acts in my will, populate heaven. These little lives spread themselves everywhere, in the entire creation, in the saints, and in the angels. How many of them run around the Queen! They want their place everywhere, to the extent of descending into the hearts of the creatures on earth, saying among themselves, "How can our Creator be inside human hearts without our little life of love? Ah, no, no, we are tiny. We can enter into them and love our Creator for them." These little lives are the enchantment of all heaven. They are the greatest wonders of our Supreme Being, the true ones who repay us for our eternal love. Their follies of love are so unusual that by only looking at them it is known that they are our daughters, lives formed and created by our divine volition. Who can tell my surprise? And Jesus, "Don't be surprised. Even my life down here did nothing other than release life from myself, to the extent that my steps still walk after everyone. They never stop. All centuries will have the life of my steps. My mouth is still speaking, because each one of my words contained one life that is still speaking. Only those who do not want to listen cannot hear my voice. My tears are full of life and are always in the act of being shed upon the sinner, to touch him, make him repent and convert him, as well as upon the upright and good souls, to embellish and to move their hearts in order to love me. Each pain, each drop of my blood, are distinct lives of mine that contain and so form strength for the pains of all the creatures, and the bath for all their sins. These are the prodigies of my will. Wherever it reigns with its natural creative virtue, over each trifle, even a tiny one, it creates life to make us loved. You must be convinced that, having such great love, we just cannot be without somebody who loves us. Therefore our will, which thinks about everything and knows how to do everything, creates many lives out of the acts of the creatures who live in it. It compensates for our love and renders less restless our anxiety of love and our eternal delirium for desire of love. Therefore, live always in our will. Love always, and you will be the enchantment of all heaven and our perennial feast, and we will be yours. We will celebrate each other. December 18th, 1938, Volume 36. God does not give if the creature does not want to receive. Painful conditions when one doesn't live in the divine volition. The depository of the whole creation. Divine food, love. Conditions of God when creatures don't live in the divine volition. How they degenerate from his image. I am always in the arms of the divine volition that makes me aware of everything, telling me, I have done everything for you, but I want you to recognize the excesses of my love. While my mind was wandering around, my always adorable Jesus, who always wants to be the first narrator of the Fiat and of its works, all goodness told me, my blessed daughter, to make known all that we have done for the creatures is already for us the return for what we have done. But who can we let know? The one who lives in our will, because our will gives the capacity to understand us, the hearing to listen. It transforms the human will so that it wills what we want. We never give if the creature doesn't want to receive and doesn't know what we want to give. See then in what painful conditions they leave us by not living in our will. They turn us into the mute God. We cannot make known how much we love them and how much they should love us. One can say that the communications between heaven and earth remain severed. You must know that everything was created as gift for the creatures. We made each created thing as the bearer of the gift and of the love that we placed inside that gift. Do you know why? Because the creature had nothing to give to us, and we loved her with great love and wanted her to have something to give to us. If there's nothing to give, the correspondence ends, friendship is broken, love dies. So we provided the creature with many of our gifts, as if they were her own, so that she could have something to give us. Therefore we make of the one who lives in our will the depository of the whole of creation. Oh, what a joy, what happiness for us, when we see her using our gifts to love us and say, "See how much I love you. I give you the sun to love you, and I love you with the same love with which you loved me in the sun. I give you the homage and the adoration of its light, the variety of its effects to love you, its continuous act of light, to spread myself everywhere and put my I love you in everything touched by its light." Then do you know what happens? We see the light of the sun, all its effects, and all the places where that light penetrates, all studded with the I love you, the adoration, the tributes of the creature. And there is even more. The sun carries in triumph the love of the Creator and of the creature, so we feel united within it, with one single will and one single heart. And if the creature feels she wants to love us more, bravely she says, "See how much I love you, but it's not enough. I want to love you more." So I enter into its inaccessible, immense, eternal light that never ends. From within that light, I want to love you with your eternal love. You cannot comprehend our joy in seeing that she loves us not only in our gifts, but also in ourselves. Conquered by her love, we redouble the gift in return, and abandon ourselves to her to be loved, not only in the way in which we love our works, but in the way we love within ourselves. All this to love her. In this way she uses all created things to make for us new surprises of love in return for our gifts, to maintain the correspondence and to continuously say that she loves us. And we, who do not know how to receive without giving, redouble our gifts. But the greatest gift is when we see her carried in the arms of our will. We feel so much attracted that we cannot remain without speaking about our Supreme Being. Giving her an additional knowledge of what we are is the greatest gift we can give. It surpasses the whole creation. To know our works is a gift, but making our very self known is giving our own life. It is admitting her to our secrets. It is the Creator trusting the creature. To live in our will and be loved is everything for us, more so since the love for ourselves forms our continuous food. Because His Son loves, my Heavenly Father generates unceasingly, and by generating me, He forms the food with which we feed ourselves. I am His Son, and I love with His same love, and the Holy Spirit proceeds. With this, we form more food to feed ourselves. If we created the creation, it is because we love. And if we sustain it with our creative and preserving act, it is because we love. This love serves as our food. If we want the creature to know us in our works and in ourselves, it is because we want to be loved, and we use this love to feed ourselves. We never despise love. Love is love. It is ours. The hunger of our love is satisfied only by being loved. We want heaven, earth, and creatures to be nothing other than love for us. And if all is not love, pain enters, causing in us the delirium of loving without being loved. Our will is our life. Love is the food. See the high, noble, and sublime point at which we want the creature. We want to form in her the life of our will. It will convert all things, circumstances, crosses, even the air she breathes, into love, feeding her in order to say, "The life of our will is yours and ours. We eat the same food." Through this, we see the creature growing in our image and likeness. These are the true joys in our creation, being able to say to our children, "We look alike." And what wouldn't the joy of the creature be in saying, "I look like my Heavenly Father"? This is why I want the creatures to live in my will. I want my children to look like me. If these children do not come back in my will, we find ourselves in the condition of a poor father who is noble, so full of knowledge as to be able to give lessons to all, rich and filled with goodness and rare beauty. But his children don't look like him at all. They have degenerated from the nobility of their father. They are so poor, moronic, ugly, and filthy as to be disgusting. The poor father feels dishonored by his children. He even looks at them and almost doesn't recognize them, seeing them blind, crippled, and sick. They don't even recognize their father. These children are the pain of their own father. The same happens to us. Those who don't live in our will dishonor us and become our pain. How can they look like us if our will is not their own? Our will feeds our children with our own food, that forms our sanctity in them as they eat it. They are embellished with our beauty, acquiring great knowledge of their Father. Our Fiat speaks through its light and tells them many things about their Father, until they fall in love with him to the extent that they just cannot be without him. This makes them look like the Father. Daughter, without my will there is no one who can feed it, understand it, form it, or grow it, as can children who look like us. Instead, they leave our house, and do not know what we do, what we are, how much we love them, or what they need to do to be like us. Therefore, our image is far away from them. How can we ever look alike if they do not know us, and if nobody talks to them about our divine being? End of December 18th. Fiat.